This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Talk about stepping up. Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, so the Minnesota Vikings do make some news today, and I'll have to admit that in a toy department sense, I am fairly shocked given what many of us have been led to believe regarding Carolina's desire to maximize draft position if indeed the Vikings were going to, if they were going to give the Vikings a chance to bring Adam Thielen back home. But they ended up coming to a deal, correct?
Let me give you one of the Caitlin Thielen, Adam's wife's, Instagram posts from today involving Adam and his daughter.
Yeah, we're going home. 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 Are you excited? I think it was because you wore the twin shirt.
She had a twin shirt on. Baby girl had the twin shirt on, but one of many. There's also a good video of Caitlin telling their boys they are a little bit confused because Adam's not there anymore. But as I mentioned earlier, good palate cleanser there. Yes, the deal is done. Reading from our guy Ben Gessling, the Vikings traded a conditional 2026 7th-round pick and a 2027 5th-round pick. They will send a 2026 5th-round pick and a 2027 4th-rounder to Carolina. As Ben writes, the Vikings and Panthers were in talks on a Thielen deal last week, but were held up on the draft pick package because, as we said a million times, the Panthers liked Adam Thielen, and they didn't really want to trade him. The Vikings will be paying a significant portion, if not all, of his base salary.
Yeah.
Which is about $6 to $7 million. I think Seifert had that nugget that they're going to pay all of it.
They're going to pay all of it, but I also think the number itself might come down a little bit. There's some changes made. There's some upfront money he's getting. So in the end, they have the money. They have enough. They definitely have enough room under the cap to pay for the salary. And I'm not surprised that Carolina said, well, that's at least what you're going to, we are doing you a favor to a certain extent. Now, 4 is not bad. You know, you'd say a 4th round because one of the picks is a 4, correct?
Yes. Yep. 2027.
That Carolina gets. But ultimately, it certainly sounds like there was a time when the Vikings were convinced this wasn't going to get done. That Carolina was just asking for too much. Now, did they come down a little bit? Did the Vikings come up a little bit? I don't know. I do feel that if you look at the Thielen production, you look at how desperate this team really is to add another receiver you can plug and play, not to turn the offense over to, but to plug and play, who's still got, I think, enough in him to do that.
Yep.
I mean, there's no learning curve. I mean, he's already been here once with KOC the first year. He's a veteran receiver, so he knows how to play. And he immediately becomes their number 2 receiver the first 3 weeks.
Yep.
And even when Addison comes back, he gives them a legitimate option if you want to demote him technically to the number 3 position. Regardless of whether it was from Detroit Lakes or Paducah, Kentucky,
correct,
wherever it was, this was the no-brainer, best possible outcome for the Vikings, who I think desperately needed to add what he can still offer at age 35.
He also has a good vibe with J-Mac.
That's true.
Because they threw together in the summer all those workouts that Brosmer was a part of and Justin Jefferson was a part of. Adam Thielen was there with J-Mac, so there's a little bit of chemistry there at least. I'm stretching, but you mentioned it. This was the best possible receiver that was attainable for the Vikings, right? Because we were throwing out names.
No doubt,
and,
yes.
Oh, maybe McLaurin's not going to get a deal in Washington, right. And what are we going to do with Tyreek Hill? Like, that's fun to speculate about, but in terms of attainability, this was the one, and the Vikings got it done. They also announced their practice squad, some names that might be familiar to people. We mentioned yesterday on Cut Down Day, we were surprised that Gabriel Murphy was among those, or some people were. He is going to be on the practice squad. Lucky Jackson, Jashawn Jones, some of the wide receivers on the practice squad. So 16 all told to add to the 53-man roster. Those are your practice squad guys.
There you go.
Wolves have a new boss, and his name, let me scroll up on the Johnny Athletic piece, Matthew Caldwell.
And this is the CEO job, right? Chief Economic Officer, is that correct?
Chief Executive Officer.
Executive Officer, not economic.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a little of both, actually, but yeah.
Yes. And here's the most interesting part. We'll tell you about his background. 10-year contract.
What are we doing? 10 years?
10-year contract. To leave South Florida, he was formerly the president of the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion.
What's a hockey guy know about running a basketball operation? Kevin Fallness.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I guess we will.
He knows about winning.
Yeah, he does.
He knows about winning because they've won back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. We know that. But a 10-year contract.
They don't. You know, we said, I mean, there's not any question that if Glenn Taylor's still running the team, Tim Conley ain't here, right? And I mean, that's the guy who brought Tim. Those are the two guys who got aggressive about saying what. Because I'm sure the first time they mentioned to Glenn said, well, go ahead, try, but he's not coming here. And they made it happen. And this is who knows if this guy's as good as his reputation, but he's big. I think there's going to be a bigness to everything they do. And to a certain extent, this couldn't have come cheap. If it's a 10-year contract, I assume they had to give him pretty good money each year.
And no state tax in Florida. He's got to deal with that here.
Oh, yeah, it's a rude awakening for him.
That's why Florida wins all the cups, remember, because they don't have to pay state income tax.
No question.
Let me give you a little bit more detail. He first joined the Panthers as Chief Operating Officer, that's COO, in 2014, was promoted to CEO in 2016 at 36 years old, and spent 9 years heading the business operations in
Is he
Florida.
one of us, by the way? Where's he from? Do we know?
Matthew Caldwell. I don't know if that's in here.
Coldwell Banker? Oh, no, that's different spelling.
No, it's Caldwell.
Yeah, Caldwell, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should find out.
I wonder if he's got any local connections. Because we love finding those out.
Yeah, I haven't seen any yet.
I don't think A-Rod would care about that. I don't think Laurier does either. They're not as obsessed with that. But, yeah, he's got good pedigree. There's no question about that. We'll see where it goes.
I haven't seen any local angle connections, which leads me to believe there aren't any. Because if there were some,
we already would know it.
We would already know.
Johnny would go big on that for sure.
Well, everybody would. Yeah. I'm trying to find out if I can get a Wikipedia page for him. It doesn't look like I can.
Well, how big can he be if he doesn't have a Wikipedia page?
That's a good point. Well, maybe he likes it that way. Maybe he works in the shadows.
The radar. Or under the radar, yeah.
Maybe he works in the shadows. What else did I want to bring out? Those were the two big ones. We could mention
Twins had a big. After I doubted them last night, basically said they're quitting, they're bored, they're angry, they know they're dead.
Yeah,
they end up with a huge ninth inning rally,
right,
to knock off. I think the Blue Jays were like 58-0 in their last 58 games with a lead going into the ninth, and I think exploded for 4 runs.
Yep, Wallner had a dong.
That's it. They cut the lead to 2. And had the tying run at home plate, but we got the last out, so we end up with the victory.
And that's pretty much it. They're back at it tonight, if anybody cares. The Lynx not back in action until tomorrow, the 28th at 7 o'clock. Same time as Gopher football, their opener against Buffalo.
Somebody was telling me we lost. Did we lose our last game? No, we won our last
Lynx?
game. The Nafisa Collier, we won,
Yeah,
right?
we've beaten the Fever twice in a row.
That's right.
After a 2-game losing
Well,
streak.
somebody was trying to tell us yesterday that Reeve had an hourly interview. I don't know if it was after a game, before a game.
With Marnes?
Not today, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what that's all about. If she just was cranky in the moment. If she likes to go pop on the bit.
Yes.
You know, she likes to do the Popovich thing. Maybe she was just in the mood to do so.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
Might have had something to do with it.
So that's really the main things we should talk about in the toy department today.
All right, yeah, we'll keep it brief. In fact, we'll return to the A section when we come back. Lou Raguse has been among the local reporters. He, of course, works for KARE 11, covering this morning's tragedy. We'll see what angle, what part of the story he has been exploring today, and any thoughts, other thoughts from him. That is coming up next right here in The Fan.
Talk about stepping up.
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels and white cheddar beer cheese. Or you can spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Plan probably pretty much the rest of the way is to get back to the A topic of the day, the school shooting that took place earlier this morning, in which 2 children, ages 8 and 10, were killed as they prayed in the pews at Annunciation Church in South Minneapolis. 17 others were injured. The good news is that apparently all of those others who were injured are expected to survive. There's still some children in the hospital as well. We expect to get to Lou Raguse in a minute. I think he might be on the air right now or just wrapping up on the air. So this was always going to be kind of iffy selecting any particular time for that reason. But Gaardsy will be calling Lou very soon, an intrepid reporter for KARE 11. 64686 is the text line. There have been lots of intriguing texts today. Some of them pretty well thought out, and some of them fairly predictable as well, as we talked about much earlier in the broadcast. Reminder that the power trip that was going to broadcast after our show from the fair today is now postponing their second fair appearance until Labor Day Monday, Gaardsy tells me. Labor Day Monday. Common, I think, was already out there, and so I think he did his show from the fair noon to 3. We decided to come back and do it here because we knew there were going to be press conferences. We knew there were going to be a lot of phone guests. And quite frankly, we just thought it made sense given the seriousness and significance of the story. So our plan is to return to the fair tomorrow between 3 and 5. But I guess there are some people, I got texts from a couple people who are already basically there early for the power trip, and they did not know about the change. And we've attempted to announce it several times. I think it's been made available via social media. There's only so much you can do. And so that's the change in the schedule. We're back at the fair tomorrow. We will be back at the fair also on Friday, and then I'll be there on Sunday for Sunday sermons as well. Lou Raguse is kind enough to join us. He's been working this story for KARE 11 as well. He joins via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Lou, thanks for the time. I know you're under the gun. It's a busy day, I guess is the best way for me to put it. So give me any particular angles. I assume you guys got reporters everywhere on this thing. What part of the story have you been exploring the last several hours?
Well, my job was kind of twofold here. If you watch KARE 11 News, I had an interview with one of the children that was inside the church during the shooting. His family approached us and said that their 10-year-old fifth grader, his life was saved by one of his friends who was wounded in the process. Oh. And he wanted the chance to publicly tell the story of how his life was saved. And so we interviewed him gingerly there and told his story. That was it put me through the ringer, actually, sure. As a dad. Yep. And to just hear a kid with that innocent voice tell that story, it just kind of shook me, actually. And so that was, I had that portion of it, but then also, I have a lot of contacts within law enforcement and stuff like that. So I did a lot of the confirming of the facts and especially early on, like how many victims there were and that kind of thing. And then once we figured out who the shooter was, confirming information about that. And so I kind of had those two different paths throughout the day here today. Let's
talk about the former first regarding the interview that you did. And you mentioned earlier the word innocent. And, that's what we associate with children in schools, even though obviously this is not the first time this has happened in a school at all. As you're talking to to an individual who was in there, it's hard not to think about, well, can that child ever get his innocence back when he is in the middle of that war zone?
That's the challenge that the school administrators and the parents and all the peers are going to have from this day forward. And there's going to be ripple effects even beyond the Annunciation School here, because this is going to be a conversation that happens at schools all across the Twin Cities and in Minnesota, because this kind of thing has happened all over the country, but this is the first mass shooting of this, or school shooting of this size that we've had here in the Twin Cities. I guess, if you go back 20 years, there was a shooting in Cold Spring, and that I guess that is comparable. But I mean, it just feels like something has made its way to us that we hadn't experienced in the recent past.
Tell us a little bit more about your conversation in terms of what he said about what he remembered from the scene, how he described it.
Well, he was surprised by the initial shot. It came from the outside, and this is what caused a lot of confusion early on, is that the shooter shot through a stained glass window into the church at the people, the kids, everyone that was sitting in the church there. And so it got confusing to people. There was even like an incorrect report at one point that there might have been two shooters, but it was in fact the gunman shooting from outside in. And so there was that hesitation at the beginning where what in the world was that? And then all of a sudden when more shots came, it became obvious. And it was a scene of older kids shielding younger kids, teachers shielding children, everyone getting under the pews as quickly as they can to protect themselves and others. And then when they felt it was safe enough, they evacuated from the church over to the gym and locked the gym doors behind them. And the kids were afraid that the shooter was still coming after them to the gym. So just imagine that. And then finally, when they received word that the shooter was dead and police started to facilitate parents meeting up with their kids, that's when they were able to leave. And this boy in particular, his mom happened to drive by and see all the police cars and know that something terrible was going on. And so, yeah, I'm sure that was terrible. But on the other hand, they were able to reunify fairly quickly afterwards.
And Lou, what details did he give regarding what he said as a classmate who ended up actually, he thinks, saving him from an even worse fate?
Yeah, and that was the reason that the parents, and they wanted us to talk to the boy in the first place. His friend, he said his friend Victor shielded him, and in the process got wounded, got hit in the back, survived, and is in the hospital, and they understand doing okay in the hospital. But he thinks that his life was in fact saved by his friend Victor, and he wanted to publicly say that he's praying for Victor and everyone else there.
How shaken did he sound to you or with you?
You know, to be honest, he didn't sound shaken. And that's kind of like the part that you hear that innocent voice and almost kind of nonchalantly going through it.
Sure.
And, you know, it's clear that the trauma and all that is yet to come. The grandfather and the father, they sounded pretty shaken.
Gotta be. Yeah, that's be unbelievable. Do you know much, if anything, about... I believe there's reports that at least one door was barricaded. Do you know much about that part of the story?
Yeah, I did hear that very early on, that at least one door was barricaded, as in the shooter had right. tried to block it so that people could not escape. I don't know what that looked like exactly, and I don't know if it actually did prevent people from
right.
escaping from that door, but it was an observation that police made and noted after they had responded.
So obviously we don't know when it would have been barricaded, if it would have been barricaded just moments before or the night before. We don't know anything about that part of it. That's the sort of detail.
We don't know. The impression I got is that it all happened all at once.
All at once. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if we hear different, yeah, and if there was that extended planning on the scene, then that's something that we'll come out with here in the hours and days ahead.
You know, you mentioned it's a challenge when you're working on a story in which children are involved, and you're trying to extract whatever information that you can, and you're trying to also capture the emotion of the story. But as a reporter, it does sort of change. The rules change a little bit, do they not? When you're speaking,
yeah, 100%, 100%. And we didn't seek out any
right.
kids and try to get them to tell us what happened or anything like that. In fact, there were even parents that I approached, and I'm like, "Would you want to share what happened? Share your perspective?" And when they hesitated, I would say, "No pressure," and then they would say, "No, not right now." And so, I think that the reporting core in Minneapolis is very good about stuff like that. It's approached things from not so much of a tabloid perspective, but more of a human standpoint. And I think that was on full display today. The interview with the little boy Weston was done by me and a reporter from WCCO. And I think if you hear both of our voices within that interview, you can tell, that we approached it gingerly and with compassion, even though they wanted to talk,
You're a really seasoned and accomplished professional who, your job is to go after the story, and that's what you've done many, many years very capably and very fearlessly as well. But you're also human. And so when we're talking about a story in which this level of tragedy has ensued, and again, it would be tragic whether we're talking about adults or children, but you are talking about children. How hard is it to not sort of feel personal about what you are witnessing and what you are seeing?
Sometimes, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to make it about me on stuff like that, obviously, but, after talking to the kid, and the grandpa made a statement, and I included it in the 5 o'clock news story, about how once this happens to your kids, you're going to feel differently about it. And he said there's nothing that sweet, innocent boy did to deserve going through anything like this. And, that was, it just, spoke for all of us. But he was talking about his own grandchild. And, after doing those interviews, like my very first report where I was relaying the information, it was hard to get out because, you process it and you put yourself in those shoes and it's like, wow, it is hard. It's very hard.
The chief was asked in the afternoon press conference about motive. He's not willing to go there yet. There's a manifesto that includes a lot of, fairly hateful and threatening stuff. With your law enforcement sources, do you have much of a sense of where that's going to lead?
Well, I mean, I've read the manifesto, and essentially, it essentially says that the shooter was depressed and hated the world, and it was time to die. That's the long and short of it. And then a lot of the other kind of writings were just like really bizarre. Mm-hmm. Who knows, mental illness type stuff going on. It was very demented. And so a lot of it, we're not coming out and, sharing every video and every writing and stuff like that. One thing that we did share was there was a very eerie sketch of what the sanctuary or the church, the inside of the church there, a sketch of all the pews and how it's all set up with a north, south, east, west compass on it that the shooter had sketched prior. So we shared that to show, that this was something that was planned out and plotted by this person. But as far as motive, I think there's a difference between motive and intent. And the intent obviously was to kill children. And that's what happened here. And also to die at the end of it. And that happened here. So that was the intent. As far as the motive, what got this person to this place, I think different people have various degrees of wanting to know that. And some people, in my experience, it's never anything that makes sense, and it's kind of a fool's errand to try to go down that road. It was kind of the same thing with, the Vance Belter shooting of the lawmakers. That's exactly how I felt with that. I tell people it's not going to make sense once you find it all out, and then sure enough, the more we hear, the less sense it makes.
Yeah, and sadly, the answer you just gave, which is often the truth, is not what the folks who line up politically on one side of the aisle or the other want to believe, right? You know how this works, Lou. No. And we've been dealing with this all afternoon.
And when you talk about, some of the laws, I'm sure we'll do some reporting in the days that come, but Minnesota does have a red flag law where a protection order can be taken out against somebody and the sheriff goes and seizes the weapons that belong to somebody. So I'm sure there'll be some reporting that I'll do on did any of those red flags exist to the point that somebody could have said something? And, those things are getting used more and more and more. Mm-hmm. The first month or two I did a report and they weren't used quite as often, but now they are. And it's a lot of, when you read the affidavits that they have to sign in order to get those things approved, they're all scary situations where you could imagine that person carrying out a mass shooting, or a lot of times it's like a suicide threat. So the point is that the guns, if the action would have been taken, potentially the guns could have been taken away. But, we don't know who knew what and when.
Last item for you, because I know you're really short on time. Wall Street Journal, I think, is reporting that they're reporting that the shooter did at one point attend this school, that his mom was retired, I think, had been a secretary there. Have you guys confirmed either or both of those things? You know anything more about that?
Yes, the mom retired in 2021 or so, and she was beloved at the school from what we could tell. There's social media posts about it actually when she retired, so she was a longtime employee there. As far as his attendance, I think what we got confirmed is that he at least attended 1 year there, and we don't know a whole lot else. I've confirmed that he attended St. Thomas Academy his freshman year, or at least a portion of his freshman year. this Annunciation School here, of course, is K through 8. So, we're still piecing together his full educational background.
I really appreciate the time on a busy day, Lou, and we may be in touch as this story plays out and you report on certain angles that are yet certainly important to the story and yet to come. Thanks again.
Happy to help.
Appreciate you. That is Lou Raguse, longtime intrepid reporter for KARE 11 on the story of the day. Well, probably more than the day, unfortunately. Let's pause. We'll come back, react to a couple of things he had to say, and maybe go off in a couple of other directions as well when we return. Right.
Talk about stepping up. Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels and white cheddar beer cheese. Or you can spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Here in the fan. Back, probably guest free the rest of the way. It looks like right now. I guess something could pop, but at this point, we are kind of where we are, and we do appreciate the comments from the reporting of Lou Raguse, and then his opportunity to find time for us on what's a very, very busy day. It's been a very eventful day into the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. A day in which logic's out the window, but that tends to happen when we have these cataclysmic events. Sadly enough, it's a time where you hope for the opposite.
Yep.
But you don't get it. Now, again, the risk is assuming that the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, as much as we love it and love the sponsorship for sure, is indicative of your average voter, listener,
right?
Whatever the case may be. Human being. Yeah, that's all those things enter into it. And again, for the folks who've already assigned blame and who are already ready to burn people at the stake, what Raguse said will annoy them. because he said something, I think, very important. Lou Raguse is not a guy afraid to follow the story either. He's done that for years, and he will follow it in this case. There's going to be plenty of time to try to get answers on some very significant questions. But I think the most important thing he said was, in many cases regarding these sorts of shooters who are legends in their own mind, who are delusional and sick beyond belief, that as much as they may rip this guy or that concept or whatever, when you put it all together and you attempt to evaluate, the answer isn't as clear and stark as some of our folks politically would like to think it is. That it's a mishmash of, more than anything else, mental illness, and sometimes even the alleged bad guys in that person's world are all across the board on one side, but many times it's much more complicated than that. And in some cases, when your mind is capable of doing what someone like this does and rambling to the degree that many times they do, it's never a straight line. Or I shouldn't say never. It's often not a straight line to exactly what point this person was attempting to make or whatever the case may be. And that's the gray area. And gray area is what we should work in more. Doesn't mean there aren't black and white moments, but gray area is murky. And gray area does not allow us to be as certain as people want to be about exactly what might motivate an individual to go down this particular road. Correct?
It's kind of the double gut punch of days like these.
Yes.
And we've had a bunch of them, obviously, as recently as June, where you have the original horrific story that's a gut punch above all gut punches. And then you come here and you get these small little body blows of people's response to it. And that's where it's almost like doubly defeating in a way. You know what I mean?
Correct, 100%.
Because you know, you're just waiting for it, and that train's always on time. And even though you know it's coming, and that train is always on time, it still does chip away a little bit. Kind of like the Chief said, you just become very cynical. You just become very cynical about the whole thing.
Not to. That's correct.
That's why days like these are obviously tough for everybody. I think the second part of the day, where just the predictability of all of it is also fatiguing.
Yeah, it's draining. I mean, there's no question about that part of it. And I think the most draining part of it is it doesn't, even for a day, really allow us to concentrate on the loss of life.
Correct.
And on the incalculable loss within that church moving forward. But of course, especially for the survivors, I should say the parents of the two children that were murdered, we just don't have time for it. And if we take that approach, I think we do lose a decent amount of our humanity, you know? And what's weird is, too, about, well, it's too soon to talk about this or it's too soon to talk about that. I've said this to you before, and I think it's true. The rule on that it generally is dictated by, if I disagree with the sentiment being offered on day one, then it's how dare you, it's too soon, and you're politicizing it. If you agree with the sentiment that's being, whatever the opinion is, on whatever the issue is, whether it's mental illness, guns, whatever, if you agree with it, you say, well, why is it too soon? What are we waiting for? No one else waits, so why should we wait? We decide whether it's too soon to talk about something, not because we honestly believe it's too soon to talk about it, but because we do not agree with whatever the assertion is. Just be honest about that. I just wish a lot of the texters who are I feel bad for them, man. Their level of obsession already about certain aspects of this story worry me about their own mental health, quite frankly. Now, a lot of that is it's the ease of speaking anonymously to a text line. that this is one of those days, again, sadly, where I've had to block a lot of people because they're not interested in any conversation at all. They have nothing to lose. If you live in that anonymous world, wherever you are, where the only people you're talking to are people you know or people around your house, whatever the case may be, you got nothing to lose to jump to whatever conclusion that you want to jump to go to whoever you believe is telling a story, mainly because they're going to give you the part of the story that you're interested in confirming. That's called, in the business, confirmation bias. And it kind of goes from there. I mean, that's the sad part. And again, I have enough faith in our audience in general that I'm not sure. I don't think everybody's in that particular camp. I think there are people who are trying to keep an open mind, first of all, but more generally also are not seizing upon this as red meat. 2 children are dead. And sadly, in this world, they become props. 2 children who started the day as living, breathing, young human beings,
8 and 10,
become props to whatever larger point that folks attempt to make. It's remarkable to me. Let me see if I can cull through a couple of these. Where's the... So here, yeah. So the shame is on those jumping to conclusions. Got it, Dan. I see where your heart's at. Is my position... Is that bad for my heart to be in that place? We certainly have offered opinions today. I just don't want us to lose the human part of the story. I don't want us to forget it. I'm glad that's why. That's a lot of the reason I was hoping Lou Raguse was covering that aspect of the story, because it is absolutely, part of the story. Let me get to a couple more here. They're coming in fast and furious. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of discussion too about there are folks angry with the mayor about the thoughts and prayers thing.
Yep. It's not time for thoughts and prayers.
It's not time for thoughts and prayers. And then he made the larger point, which was, well, ironically, that's the whole point of this is they were praying. These children were praying. I don't think his point was to dismiss the importance of prayer. I really don't. I think that's become, what he said has become a cliche for, well, words are nice, but in the end, what do they really do? We have to speak about what options there might be that wouldn't necessarily eliminate what happened today from happening, but maybe gives you a better shot at discouraging it, or perhaps occasionally actually eliminating it from happening. I don't, but again, it's an example of, is he against what? Mayor against prayer? It's a problem with prayer. He was trying to make a larger point today, just because, on a human level, I think that these kids were praying. That's what they were doing. It made it feel even more heinous, right? I think that's a decent part of the story. I don't know if I should read this one. I shouldn't, probably. Well, I can't. Some of the language I can't read. I'll read part of it. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for trying to spin this into an anti-Catholic thing. Have we once mentioned that aspect of the story? I don't think we have.
Don't believe so.
But it's what I've said earlier. I sent this out to another texter, the one who pretended I did not mention this the shooter's history transitioning. And it's folks who want to believe you're the bad guy to such a degree that they're willing to lie to themselves about what you have or haven't said. Now, we haven't made a big issue about this being he's saying it shouldn't be an anti-Catholic thing. This should just be about the trans aspect of this individual without any proof, that any indication whatsoever, because that's what he wants to believe. So in order to make himself work himself up into a rage, he's pretending that we have spun it into an anti-Catholic thing when we haven't even gotten near that aspect of the story. I mean, there's some sick people out there, man, that are so motivated by the basest of instincts that they have to invent the lie in order to say we're making it about this more than this when we haven't even made it about the thing he says we shouldn't make it about. That's until we deal with that disease when it comes to processing this stuff, that condition, I just don't think we have. I really don't think we have much. I should say much chance.
Speaking of processing,
go ahead.
Before you read a couple of more texts or get to your next thought, we should mention there's a couple of different events that if you want to get offline and go be around other people and perhaps process together. Bernard Hebda, the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, said today, I think during the press conference, there's a prayer service at 7 o'clock at Holy Angels, Academy of Holy Angels, 6600 Nicollet Avenue in Richfield, basically 66th Street and Nicollet. 7 o'clock if people want to go to that. There's also a vigil at 8 o'clock tonight at Lyndhurst Park on Minnehaha Parkway that a couple of groups are putting together there. So a lot of that on social media as well. You can find it. But if people are looking to basically be with other people or be in the community, those are two events that have been highlighted.
Good to know. The good background as well. I'll try to get to a couple more here. And then maybe we do a little bit of a review of how, this whole morning went. I meant to ask Lou this. We still don't know, I don't think it's been established how many kids were in praying yet. They were still trying to get to the bottom of that. We now do seem to have a few media outlets confirming that the shooter had at least 1 year of schooling there. Correct? I don't know how far back that goes.
Yeah, 2017 Annunciation Yearbook showed that Robin Westman, who went by Robert at the time, attended the school for at least 1 year.
Okay.
So that's 8 years ago-ish, 6 or 7 years ago.
And his mother, as somebody got a hold of his mother. One of the stories I read earlier today indicated that his mother came to the phone, was crying, said she didn't know if he had anything to do with this or not. I don't think it was a very long conversation. Correct. That she had retired from there. She had worked, I believe, as a secretary for a number of years and retired. I thought it was 2019. Maybe it was more recent. Lou thought it was like 2021.
Yep.
But she's been out of the school for a while, I guess I would say. And somebody also is confused because they thought on one of our iHeart News updates, the reporter said that the guns were attained illegally.
He kind of ran his words a little bit.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay. Because the Chief O'Hara was asked this question and said they were purchased legally. I don't think we know much more about, and recently is what he said. I don't know that we have much more information about, when he got them, where he got them, etc.
Right.
Whether it was a kind of thing where he got them from a middleman. I don't think we know any of that. But he did say, the chief at least said that they were purchased legally.
Correct? Yes. So it may have been kind of a slip by the news anchor, just kind of running his words a little bit. Because I heard that as well, that it could be misinterpreted as that. But the official information from the chief was that they were legal.
Yeah. Well, as we said, we're not even 1 day into this thing, and there's going to be plenty of time and serious questions on a lot of fronts that should be asked and will be asked, I think. And hopefully there'll be the good journalism that we hope for and expect. And we follow the story wherever it, ultimately wherever it goes. But as I said, a lot of the people we're hearing from today, they're not following the story. They've already made the story. They're smarter than everybody else. They know. They know everything there is to know. There is no gray area. They know exactly what caused it. They know exactly what this thing is about. And as far as they're concerned, they're ready to go on to the next story tomorrow. They've already figured the thing out, and there's no point in unfortunately, reasoning with those individuals because reason has nothing to do with the approach that a number of people who are texting us are saying. Let's come back. We'll review a couple of the earlier interviews we did, including with former St. Cloud Police Chief Blair Anderson, who's going to join us. We expect to be back at the fair starting tomorrow between 3 and 5. And then for Friday's show. And then I'm doing the second Sunday sermons from the fair as well. That's when Chief Anderson will join as well.
Talk about stepping up. Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels and white cheddar beer cheese. Or you can spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Stay tuned.
Man.
Of the 6 o'clock hour of the Bumper to Bumper program. We are not at the State Fair today. We are in the studio, and we, as I said, intend to return tomorrow. That would be the plan for a short show as the Gophers prepare for their first regular season game. They're taking on the University of Buffalo. Pregame show will start on the Fan beginning at 5 o'clock. I thought I starred a couple. Yeah, here's this is Paul from St. Louis Park. I've listened to your whole show today as I'm on the road, and you gave 0, nothing anti-Catholic. And somebody right next to him said, well, by the way, it given where he did his damage, that could end up being part of a motive that's assigned to him. But again, if you want to believe, if you have one issue in your life, and it's it's transition, and that's become the only thing you think about 365, that's a detail that gets in the way. Oh, she did it in a church? But what's that got to do with anything? But the irony is, as I said, we have not even attempted to spin it in one direction or another because it's too damned early. to get to that. Other than we've laid out some of the stuff that he has offered up via that whatever that video that so the manifesto. It's not a written manifesto in his case, right? It's the video is the manifesto, correct?
That we know of.
That we know of.
Yeah,
that's true.
They're still doing investigations at a couple of different spots,
Yeah.
but the thing that got the most attention today, that even Lou mentioned, KARE 11 ran some of, was about an 11-minute video that was posted to YouTube this morning. It's been deleted by YouTube or down from YouTube, but other people have been able to download it and grab it. And so it's been making the rounds. But that was kind of the main thing people have been talking about today in that regard.
When did you first hear about this story? What were the circumstances?
Man, it's been such a day.
Yeah.
I guess it was, I was at home. I had gotten home from the open house at our elementary school today. So probably a little bit after 9 o'clock is when I first heard about it. Just getting back online. And honestly, I think it was actually, I didn't know anything about it until I got a text from Abbott to Tennessee and me about some things that we were doing with the press conferences and where they were going to be.
Sure.
So that was my first inclination of anything now that I think about it. I didn't learn about it online. I learned that something was up via text because I was coming back from school, had 2 of my 3 kids. My oldest was somewhere else with my wife. So was just getting them back home and taking care of the dog and things like that.
What's again, I mean, it's an unspeakable tragedy as it is. I got to tell you, my first inclination was that the numbers were going to be staggering, right? You think of, again, somebody, because the assumption early, we didn't know that the shooter was shot from the outside. So my assumption is this individual got into the church or into the school, whatever the case may be, right?
Yep.
And there was a lot of talk about the number of ambulances that were lined up, the whole bit. And so it was easy to project, right? An even worse case scenario, as if it wasn't bad enough as it was, that you're going to have dozens of you're going to have dozens of dead, and
we heard 20 victims right away.
We did, yes. And
it wasn't
not a lot of detail.
It wasn't specific.
That's it. And so at this point, it's hard. I think it was hard to not think the worst. So to that extent, And again, all the reporting seems to indicate, and including the last press conference that we know of from the police chief, among others, is that all those who are wounded are going to survive, correct?
All 17 hospitalized individuals are expected to survive that from the hospital.
So I had 2 different reports. Were there 2 adults or 3 adults in the group? Because there were at least 2 or 3 adults, were there not? At least that was the early reporting on this.
I believe there were 3. I saw this somewhere. I'm going through a big thing that continuously updates, and they were older too. A couple of them were in their 80s at least, who were probably just at the church for that morning mass. And now I can't find it as I'm scrolling through here. So 17 others injured, 14 of them children, 3 of them adults, and I think I saw 2, if not all of them, were in their 80s, but are expected to survive. And the hospitals are giving credit to the first responders for giving an extremely accurate count on who was coming, where they were coming from, and why they were coming.
Right.
One hospital even said they compared it to when the bridge collapsed, I-35.
Right.
They had no idea who was coming, because that gets lost in translation too sometimes, right? When it's chaos like this, you don't know where everybody's going. You don't know how many victims you have. And everybody, it seems like, did a good job communicating. Here's who we have. Here's why they're coming. And so they were able to make sure everybody was taken care of in a timely manner.
507 guy writes, I'm inclined to believe schools should be harder targets than airports. I realize not every incident would be prevented, but reactions post 9/11 to security moved much more swiftly and with more unity. Political dance played at the expense of the lives of children, teachers, and staff is costly. They deserve better. Well, we're back to what's practical. From a financial standpoint and every other way, there's too many soft targets in that regard to possibly, I think, be able to ratchet up security dramatically unless you're literally talking. And again, in this case, this is a shooter who shot through a window.
Right.
Straight through a window, correct? I think even part of it was a stained glass window.
Stained glass church window, yeah.
So that doesn't mean we can't have discussions about, not just this case, but trying to make things safer.
And there are ways to do that, and a lot of schools have.
Right.
But there are limits to what you can actually do.
That's it.
And like we talked about a couple of hours ago, the idea that, well, if you just first of all arm teachers and train them,
right,
like they don't have enough going on, and that's difficult. And we've already learned, or we're just going to put a retired vet or retired cop in every school. Like, just start thinking about that and on the scope of what you would have to have there. It's just not realistic.
No. The political dance, again, I think post 9/11, it was easy because I don't think there was much of a political cost or political blowback. Everybody seemed to be on the same page regarding, okay, yeah, it's going to be a pain in the butt. It's going to get harder to go through security, but we'll do it because we almost have to. In this case, because of Second Amendment conversation and other things, it becomes complicated there. We've discussed, again, and it may not have anything to do, let me again say, with this case, in preventing what took place here. My philosophy, I've never believed gun control fixes everything. I just don't. I think it's more complicated than that because when we talk about this stuff, that's what we want to think. We just snap our fingers, we just do this, and everything will be fine. That said, I think the difficulty I have in these conversations is that people go, well, look at Chicago. They got some of the toughest gun control laws in the country. And do we really have to know what the problem is here? The guns can come from other places where the gun control laws are much more lax. Now, maybe if we had strict and universal gun control laws or the same laws across all 50 states, we would learn that it wouldn't end up being as effective as we thought. But if we're ever going to do the experiment, that's the only way we're going to know, right? I mean, the only way you're going to know is, Indiana's are far less stringent than Illinois. In fact, they just did a big bust in Chicago, and there was a bunch of guns coming from Indiana. So, even that, though, it seems to be a difficult conversation because right away it's like, well, you see, gun control doesn't work. Given how many guns we have in the country already at this point, maybe it wouldn't. And for somebody like this, I hope we'll get it determined whether they were legally obtained or not. But, even if they were illegally obtained, it's a reminder that sick individuals like this person, tend to be motivated, and they probably tend to get whatever fireworks that they need to get something done, which still doesn't mean, I think, that you can't have conversations about discouraging it. Maybe you save 1 out of 10 incidents from taking place, whatever. Right. It's the old deal. You just got to start somewhere. And again, if you want to buy the notion that we got more mentally ill people than we ever have, and I don't even know if that's provable, or we just think that because we're talking about it more. To me, if you're a big gun person, you'd say, well, while we're dealing with that reality, it only would be logical to try to implement, whether it's gun control issues, toughening up the red flag stuff, although in this state I think we have decent red flag items, to try all of those things that maybe gives you a better chance to take those guns away from somebody who's mentally as unstable as this individual clearly was.
And we just talked
about it. May not matter, though. And again, it might, because some of the red flag stuff none of these are automatic panaceas, right? No. I think it's fair to say.
We just talked about it with the individual that did the shooting in the NFL offices. He got the gun from, I think, his boss at a casino in Las Vegas, right?
Correct.
Like, he wasn't able to get one. He bought it, or he acquired it. Somebody had purchased it for him, and that was one of the weapons that he used in New York City. So, yeah, we're all aware that the toughest gun laws ever, if someone's dedicated enough and can find a way to get one, they're going to get one, which is sad, but that doesn't mean you still don't. You'll probably do your best to take a look at some things and see if you can make it a little tougher. Make them work a little harder.
Yeah. All this stuff is worthy of discussion, but again, there is a futility to it because I feel like we've had, like a lot of people do on a day like this, that we've had these conversations a ton before, and we shouldn't be afraid to be able to talk about all of this stuff wherever the story may go, whatever ultimately. And again, it may never be. There's many of these mass shooters where no matter what it looks like at the start, it's often not a clean answer because they don't think we like to believe we think in a linear fashion, right? In a logical fashion. Oh, mad about this injustice or whatever the case, perceived injustice. So this is what I'm going to do, right? And what we're learning is, and that's what's so difficult about this politically. A lot of time, these guys they're a mishmash. They're all over the place. And ultimately, we don't even know that any of those things did it, other than what the hell, I'm just going to do it. I might as well. I got nothing else going on. I'm going to hurt some people. I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to move on, right? And then you gutlessly do what he did, which was then I'll turn the gun on myself.
Right, and that was part of the manifesto video was basically showcasing all the weaponry that he had.
Yeah.
And there was a handgun at the end where he said, and this was the part I saw, where he said, and this one's for me if I need it. Basically, you've got no chance.
The delusions of grandeur that these sick individuals have, man, and we're at their mercy. That's the sad. I don't know why we wouldn't try some safeguards to give ourselves a better chance to not be at the mercy of these absolutely hit.
Talk about stepping up. Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels with white cheddar beer cheese. Or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
This individual.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
I want to thank our guest today, Lou Raguse, joined in the 5 o'clock hour, KARE 11 reporter, to kind of give us that side of the what he was covering and what he was up to, including chatting with a boy who was in the church who says that he actually feels like he was saved by another student, another person praying who kind of enveloped him, he said. And in this case, apparently, the parents of this individual who is recovering nicely, I should say that the individual who apparently saved this other child is recovering nicely, I should say. In this case, Raguse gets into that issue of, you're an intrepid reporter. You're trying to follow the story. How hard do you try to interview children who are in the fray. It's not easy. And he said basically the approach is pretty much hands off, but in this case, the parents of that child approached the reporter to say that our child would like to talk because he wants to salute his fellow student who apparently intervened in a sense and saved their son. I want to thank him for all his good reporting as always, and I want to thank Blair Anderson, the former St. Cloud police chief who joined us early in the program as well. The show will be podcastable at some point a little bit later. Blair joined us, the chief joined us between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. We had plans for Seifert to join in our brief sojourn to the toy department related to Adam Thielen, but some stuff came up for him. So our plan is to return to the fair tomorrow, and it'll be a mix and match at that point. We've got several guests for a 2-hour show. We're out early tomorrow because of the Gophers' first regular season game hosting Buffalo, where Gaardsy will be. So what's tomorrow? Tomorrow is Thursday, obviously. And so the guest lineup includes, scheduled at least at this point, to include Tim Conley towards the back end of the show, Russo Radio, and Lavelle before that, correct?
Those are the three.
Yep.
Saw Lavelle today at a tour of the new St. Thomas basketball and hockey arena.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. So he will be there at 3:45 tomorrow.
He's getting in on all that stuff too. He's falling for all that St. Thomas propaganda, isn't he?
Yes.
That like the entire state should revolve around St. Thomas University.
It's a nice arena. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And they're smart. They gave everybody cookies at the end of it. So that's going to buy us off.
That's all it matters.
And it was a great cookie.
Yeah. Was it good?
It was a really nice cookie.
Raisin?
No, just kind of a basic sugar cookie.
Oh, okay. That's okay, too.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And then we're back out there Friday. Longer show, Billy Guerin among our guests on Friday. Royce was going to join today from the fair. Obviously, since we didn't do the show from there, he didn't come in. And doesn't look like we're going to get him at the fair the way the schedule is going. He was willing to come out Friday, but we're booked pretty solidly again on Friday. I think, is that Johnny's day too? Johnny Athletic?
It's Johnny.
Gessling.
It's Ben Gessling. Yeah. And it might be Nico Medved.
Oh, he was
supposed to join today.
That's true.
And actually said, I'm happy to come out another day. He obviously wants to make it work. So we might do a little bit of messing around with the schedule after Guerin.
I should remind folks again, the Power Trip Morning Show was scheduled to follow us from the fair tonight. They are not going to be out there tonight, as might be clear by this point, but we did have a couple people texting earlier saying that they didn't know and they were frustrated. We've done, I think, as well as we could. We're trying to communicate the changes. Sometimes these things just happen in real time. So now they're scheduled to come out on Labor Day Monday. Is that correct?
Yes, at 2 o'clock is the plan.
Okay, 2 o'clock on Labor Day Monday. So that will be your second shot at the fair to get the Power Trip Morning Show. I'll do a Sunday sermon show. In fact, the Chief is going to join us out there on Sunday morning as well. So that's kind of the guest lineup as we know it. This is, what's today, Wednesday?
Yes.
Kessler will be with us next week, I'm assuming.
Yep.
He had earlier some dog issues. I hope that's gotten a little bit better. And then we were kind of waiting for a couple of other guests, so we kept things fluid there. But he'll join us next week. And then what was the other thing I was going to mention? Well, I think that's it. It's these shows are draining. There's no question about it.
Yep.
But we got to remember, it's really not about us. I just hope for most people, and I think it is true for most people, they're not thinking about how they're processing this. They're trying to spend some time on the two children who lost their lives, just trying to go to school, man. First week of school. And in this case, praying as well. That's where the emphasis certainly should be. Doesn't mean that ancillary issues should not be discussed. There's no rule about how quickly or how long you need to take. I don't necessarily believe in those rules. But in the end, it'd probably be helpful to take a deep breath and say, more than anything, beyond the debates, beyond some of the stupidity that we've had to deal with today, sadly, regarding the text line, It's about the two individuals who are gone and their families and what they are thinking and feeling tonight as well. Thank you very much for participating in today's broadcast, and we expect to see you at the State Fair tomorrow beginning at 3.
Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you can spice things up and try some unexpected pairings like dipping chicken wonton tacos in our honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.